You're not from the same class as me.
I come from a place called O'Devney Gardens, which is no longer there anymore, and also Fatima Mansions, these tower blocks in the inner city, you know. And I heard there was a lot of talk about working class writers, and it became very fashionable all of a sudden to be a working class writer, you know. And there was all people on panels talking about being working class, and to me, they were like the poshest people I'd ever. If they came to my flats, they'd be like, "Who's this very posh person that's wandered into the flats here?" So I was like, maybe I'm not even working class. Maybe I'm in the old Marxist term, a proletarian poet. So it's kind of about that, and a few other things, right? And it's kind of taking the piss as well. Don't take it all so serious. So I'll start it off. It's called "You're Not From the Same Class as Me." You're not from the same class as me, because I'm from the black market economy class, the robbed the knickers off the washing line class, the shot dead in front of your ma's gaff for 20 years old class, the me whole family's on the dole class. You don't even call me working class. If you're a man who grew up in a 2 down 2 up gaff and his dad drove a nice car is working class, and you're one with the art teacher, father and actor mother is working class, then don't even call me working class. Because I'm from the slash your cousin's face with a blade and still be mates with him in a few weeks class, the breaking and entering class, the shotgun to the head class, the people pissing and shitting and shooting up on the stairs of the flats class, the wreck they got for the party on a mad one class, the shut your mouth what you're looking at, you'll get your head smashed in class, the bogey in a black hoodie or Canada Goose jacket class, the Nike and Adidas white runners wearing class, and yeah, it's runners, you're not trainers, you dope. This is Dublin, not America. The smoke weed every day, do coke with your uncle in the toilet of the pubs class, the Ando, Waka, Jacinta, Charlene, 10 brothers and sisters class, the one parent junkie man, that brother sells crack class, the back of burger and chips with loads of salt and vinegar on from the chipper class, the you better that, go on you mad thing, what's the story bro, grand class, the I'm not on Twitter because it's full of posh dopes class, the I do the gym, lift weights, eat protein, do the stairs and get huge class. Yeah, so don't even call me working class. If you're a man whose daddy owns a farm is working class, and you're one whose mommy's the school principal are working class, then don't even call me working class.
You're not from the same class as me, because I'm from the class that can feel someone's judgment through a screen, through that gnawing bellyache, through the nails chewed to the quick, through obscenities unspoken. I'm from the class that thinks it's psychic, a master class of interpreting minds beyond the veil, the weak veil of manners, the class of say it to me face behind me back, the relax will you class. No, you're not from the same class as me, because I'm from the class that grew up with cold water, the rats out class, the shut your mouth class, the hush hush don't be telling them our business class. You're not from the same class as me, because I'm from the class that asks, am I spending too much? Am I allowed? Am I entitled? You're not from the same class as me, because I'm from the class that secretly wants to cipher instead of play Xbox. The class that whips your 50 while you spill your guts. The class that gets its adolescent bevies emptied by pseudo-heavies. Best thrill of a Garda's career pouring out a 15-year-old's beer. You're not from the same class as me, because I'm from the class that burns and gets burnt. Don't like the Bartman, fire like arson. Who needs frenemies when you have fam like these? The class that doesn't laugh at top deco, bottom deco. Anto, with the samurai sword, being a real life person. To get your hands out of your jocks, you haven't got a clue class.
Yeah. If you never had the electricity or gas cut off in your flat when you were a child, you're not from the same class as me. If you had 2 working parents, you're not from the same class as me. If you live in a suburban estate, you're not from the same class as me. If you didn't drink 30p bottles of cream soda and ask for Butsy on your mate's bar of chocolate when you were a kid, then you're not from the same class as me. If you don't know anyone who's in jail for murder or was murdered in a drug feud, well then you're not from the same class as me. If you pronounce poem, po-em, sorry UCD, you're not from the same class as me. If you don't think any kind of fish except cod or ray or canned tuna is posh food, I hate to tell you, but you're not from the same class as me. Yeah, see, I'm from the if anyone slags me ma, I'll kill them class. The stay up till 5 in the morning to watch the UFC and the big boxing fights class. The who the hell do you think you're talking to, you muppet class? The any change for the hostel bro class. The pull a wheelie on the bike and do a wheel spin in the jammer class. The joyriding, bomb fire lighting, bangers and rockets, wrapping paper 5 or 50 class. Where the girls put filler in their lips and a little nagging in the handbag on a night out to shake their hips and take a few pics, and they do a pout and stick their bums out, not because the patriarchy told them, not for any man, because they're looking stunning, hun class. Yeah, shout out to all the huns and girlos. Yeah, I'm from the Kelly Harrington class, the Christy Dignam class, the Troy Parrott class. Unfortunately, about the panel, sorry. The loves of chicken fillet roll, sitting their bookies all day, ask me. Bollocks class. They commit suicide, stab someone sexually abused by priest class. They fill up all the jails in this land class. They lose your leg from injecting gear in the class. They scald someone with a kettle of boiling water in a Mountjoy prison class. They shut up yous bleeding load of ticks, little fields get out on me face class. Yes, so don't even call me working class. Your dad never got kicked out the gaff, then you're not from the same class as me. If you prefer coffee to a nice cup of tea, if you don't like a rasher and batch bread sambo, if you have a double-barreled surname, if you don't eat turkey and ham for Christmas dinner, if no one in your family was ever strung out, if you don't know what strung out means, if you prefer bachelors to Heinz baked beans, or if you don't prefer bachelors to Heinz baked beans, if you don't think purple snack bars are bleeding lovely, if you call your nanny your grandmother, your granddad, your grandfather, then you're not from the same class as me. If you work high up in an arts organisation and you don't make art, then you're not from the same class as me. If you don't think every politician in the doll is a muppet, if you're sitting around crying that the universe didn't deliver what you cosmically ordered, if you're never at a funeral and someone took out a big bag of yolks and you all said, it's what you would have wanted, then you're not from the same class as me. If you don't call Barbara Streisand your one with the big nose, if Ryan Tuberty that dope off the telly, then you're not from the same class as me. If you've ever been stung by a microaggression, then you're not from the same class as me, because we're being hit with macroaggressions on the daily, and while you're getting triggered by a word, we're getting triggered by a gun. Boom, boom.
You're not from the same class as me, because people get surprised when I talk eloquently, because people get surprised at my personal library. You're not from the same class as me, because I'm from the class where people don't know how to articulate what it is they hate about the appropriation of the working class voice, and they just stay angry and quiet and repressed and undressed, and you hang out our dirty washing for us. You're not from the same class as me, because you adopt my habits like a guy's for clicks and props. You're not from the same class as me, because mine is the class that's punching its fist into the palm and bashing its temples whilst you pinch the dimples and coo. You're not from the same class as me, because in our class, yes, our men stuff swords in their trouser legs and bottles of vodka up their sleeves. You're not from the same class as me, because yours is a class that fetishises ours. Yours is the class that slaps our arse and tells us it's only a laugh. You're not from the same class as me, because where I'm from, you're half-breed and you call your middle-class parent posh. Where I'm from, we can read you in a split second, even if you're wearing the right runners. Nostalgia de la Boo, slumming it with the NCAD hobos. We're the poor on purpose class, we're the whole class and its mother that goes, poor. You're from the class that attempts to alienate us from ourselves by feigning solidarity dressed up as entertainment. You're from the class that psychologically alienates us from ourselves. Psychic alienation and geographical alienation, not only alienating us from our own spaces, but alienating us from our own psyches. Bell hooks.
If you have a 5-year plan or a marketing strategy, if you want a bigger house with an extra lavatory, if you think vol-au-vents are really nice and tasty, if you don't bless yourself when you pass at church, if you eat cold soup or you don't call every tall man Lurch, if you call it ketchup instead of red sauce, if you don't love 2-pack Biggie and Boys in the Hood, if you drink Actimel because it's good for your gut, if you're lactose intolerant or like blue cheese, if you call your missus or fella your moon squeeze, if you drink peach snaps or mulled red wine, if you never broke open an Easter egg with your head, if you don't love an old packet of Tato and King Crisps, if you never relied on the Christmas bonus from the dole, if you don't think Marks and Spencer's is a posh British shop, if you never pick cigarette butts off the ground to make a rollie, if you never told your friends not to course in front of your nanny because she's very holy, if your job pays a salary of more than 50 grand a year, if your dad loans you money to get your first house, if you don't think a chicken jalfrezi is mad spicy, bro, if you don't use stock use and you make your own, ooh, Jamie Oliver, what? If If you don't know a young one who goes out with a red hot. If you ask the question, will we be alright going to the scoff party in Darndale? If you think a young fella that sells a bit of weed or a few yokes at a party is a big drug dealer. If you never watched the documentary about Pablo Escobar and his hippos. If you call money spondoolies and you say, my friend Roger's a chick magnet, you know. If you don't think Love Hate is the best show ever on RTE and the rest of telly is shite. If you don't stop what you're doing when the Angelus bells ring out. If you prefer rugby over football or drink herbal tea when you're not sick. If after you give your mate a compliment you say, you're still a fucking dope though. If you're a young one who doesn't love a few bargains and pennies, if you really care who won the Booker Prize or the Oscar for the best motion picture, if your child's favourite dessert is anything except ice cream and jelly, if you never got followed around Centra by a security guard because you look like a bogey, if you never got so stressed because you had no money for Christmas that you planned in your head how you do a bank robbery, if you never seen a man get stabbed or hit with a hammer or jumped on by a load of lads or heard the woman in the next flat getting beat by a husband, or stood on the balcony of the street and watched your neighbour scrapping, or felt the threat of an ever-present possibility of violence breaking out at any moment. If you never owned the lone man money or had to pawn your best jewellery for your ma's birthday present, if you don't take the mickey out of people because you love them, or knock in next door for tea bags, or make a collection for the family when someone dies, or ask, what's the story, pal? How's things? Everything alright, yeah? If you don't sing when you're winning or losing because there's nothing else to do, if you don't think this poem is whopper or class or bleeding deadly, then you're not from the same class as me, and you never were, and I'm sorry, but you'll never be.
I'm from the class that hides its hurt by showing it. I'm from the class that is classier than you because it will turn up its nose to half a cup of tea. I'm from the class that feels sorry and guilty that I can't speak Irish and still finds it elitist. I'm from the class that actually doesn't need you to keep saying they're pitting you against one another. They're pitting you against one another. I'm from the class that's too polite to tell you that you're ignorant. I'm from the class that's born angry, born addicted. I'm from the class that surprises you with its statistics. I'm from the class that is not your entertainment propaganda, not your trend, the class that is not your friend. I'm from the class that understands but listens to the explanation politely anyway. I'm from the class that belongs but doesn't have to prove it. I'm from the class that simultaneously knows and does not know what it is and what it is not. I'm from the class that thinks it's actually none of their business what he needs. I'm from the class that is the last to learn what socio-economically underprivileged, disadvantaged, deprived means. I'm from the class that laughs when you say we are self-disenfranchised. The class that are shushing but don't shush others. The class that you are shushing but don't shush others. Mine is the class that does not believe less is more. Mine is the class that robs the throat for a box. Yours is the class that fears and reveres us. Mine is the class that carries out the final act of rebellion while you fundraise. Thank you.
Cheers folks for sitting through that. It was very long, but that was the first time we ever done that live, so hopefully it went well. And yeah, just like to say, UCD, your class.